The hotel room was advertised online for a tempting $99 a night, but the final bill at the very end came to $180, and not a single one of those extra charges stacked onto your bill was actually optional. Every last one of them was completely mandatory. It feels like you got quietly nickel and dimed at the very last second, standing right there at the checkout desk. But this is not sloppy billing, and it isn't one greedy clerk. It is a careful, deliberate, and entirely legal strategy. So here is the question you never quite stop to ask while hunting online for the cheapest possible room you can find. Why would a hotel advertise one price and then quietly force a completely different and much higher one onto you at the end? To understand it, forget the room itself for a second. A hotel is quietly playing a game that you cannot even see, and that game is not really won down at the front desk. It is won and lost on a single search results page. When you go looking for a hotel, you almost always sort that long, endless list by one single thing: the price. The lowest price sits proudly right at the very top. The highest price gets buried, unseen, far down at the bottom. So every single hotel is locked in a quiet, constant war to show you the smallest possible number on that screen. And the easiest way to win that war is beautifully simple. Just hide part of the real price somewhere you won't see it. So the hotel advertises a low, tempting base rate up front, and very quietly holds the rest of the real cost back. By the time those hidden charges finally appear, you've already chosen, already clicked, and already mentally checked in. That leftover hidden cost has a friendly, official, reassuring sounding name. They quietly call it the resort fee. It gets added to nearly every single night, whether the place is a fancy beach resort or a plain, ordinary city hotel. And it supposedly covers a little bundle of things: the Wi-Fi, the gym, the pool, and the fresh towels by the door. Things you were very probably going to use anyway. Or, quite often, things you will never once actually touch. Either way, it is never optional, and you simply cannot remove it. It is just quietly part of the real price. The low base rate was only ever the bait to reel you in. The resort fee is where the quiet, real business actually begins. But here is the part that almost no guest ever finds out, and it is the real, hidden reason these fees even exist. When you book your room through one of the big travel websites, that website quietly takes a commission on the sale. But that commission is very often calculated only on the base room rate and not on the separate resort fee at all. So every single dollar of that resort fee skips the middleman entirely and goes straight into the hotel's own pocket. The hotel keeps a low, competitive-looking rate up on the screen and a fat, commission-free fee tucked safely in its pocket. It's genuinely the best of both worlds. For the hotel, you just happen to be the one quietly paying for both of them. And once you truly understand that, every other little charge waiting on your final bill suddenly makes perfect sense. Parking, which not so long ago used to be simply free, now quietly appears as a mandatory daily line item. The little minibar water, priced almost as if it had been personally flown in by hand from another distant continent. Early check-in, late checkout, a small convenience charge for the simple privilege of a tiny bit of flexibility. Each one feels small and harmless on its own, but together they quietly rebuild the exact price you thought you'd escaped. And every single one of them was decided long before you ever arrived, in a very different and very quiet room. So let's step inside that room, where the real, final price of your entire stay is quietly and carefully built. Up on the wall is a live search page, showing this hotel's exact rank against every single competitor nearby. The goal on that wall is brutally simple: be the cheapest looking room on the entire list by any legal means necessary. Drop the visible nightly rate by a few dollars, then quietly move that exact difference over into the mandatory fees. The number up on the screen goes down. The number you will actually pay stays exactly the same, or quietly climbs higher. This clever little trick even has a proper name that regulators themselves now use for it. They call it drip pricing. The full price is revealed to you slowly, just one little drip at a time, until you are far too committed to walk away. And regulators have finally started fighting back, calling these quietly hidden charges exactly what they are: junk fees. Some places now must legally show the whole price up front, but the deep incentive to hide it never really goes away. Because as long as people keep sorting by that sticker price, the lowest sticker on the list will just keep on winning. Now look very closely at when they finally choose to show you the real, honest total. It's almost never at the start. It appears on the very last screen, right after your name, your dates, and your card details have already been entered. You've already spent the time. You've already made the decision, and going back to search all over again feels genuinely exhausting. So you sigh, you quietly accept the fees, and you book the room. exactly as the entire system always quietly expected you to. And this is the very same quiet trap waiting for you at the checkout of 100 other industries too. The airline seat with the surprise baggage fee, the concert ticket with the service charge, the car with the documentation fee. Always a low, shiny number to first win your attention, and a quiet pile of extras to win back all the margin. Now let's step back over to the reception desk, on the morning you finally, sleepily go to check out. The clerk slides the freshly printed bill across the counter, and your eyes go straight down to the total at the bottom. It is far, far higher than the tempting little price that first pulled you in, all those clicks and days ago. You scan down the line items, resort fee, parking, service, and then tax stacked neatly on top of every single one. And each and every one of those little charges is completely real, clearly printed, and entirely perfectly legal. You can grumble about it, but you can't really argue. You agreed to all of it, buried somewhere deep in the fine print. And that fine print is precisely where the real price had been quietly hiding the entire time. Let's picture the simple, cold logic that quietly runs this whole thing up on a screen in that pricing room. Advertised rate, kept as low as it can possibly go. Real total, as high as the guest will quietly, wearily tolerate. And the gap between those two numbers gets filled in, drip by patient drip, with fees you simply cannot refuse. They are not really competing to give you the best room at all. They're competing to show you the smallest number. And the smallest visible number, not the most honest one, is what quietly wins the booking every single time. The hotel you were so sure had the best deal, simply, quietly, had the very best hidden price of them all. So now turn the whole thing around and take an honest look at your own last hotel bill. Longer than you expected. You did pick the cheap room, you just never picked the cheap final price, because you were simply never actually shown it. The low base rate got you to click. The resort fee got the hotel its lovely commission-free profit on the side, and the parking, the minibar, and the service charge quietly filled in whatever small gap happened to be left over. None of it was ever a mistake. Every charge was placed exactly where you would only ever notice it far too late, and none of it is illegal. The prices are printed, technically disclosed, and all sitting quietly right there in plain sight. The real genius is that it never once has to lie to you outright. It only ever has to reveal the truth very slowly. You were completely free the whole time. You were just choosing from prices carefully designed to look smaller than they were. So the next time the final bill is bigger than the price that first hooked you, you'll finally understand exactly why. It isn't the hotel just being sloppy at the desk. It's the hotel quietly winning a search it absolutely needed to win. The advertised price was never really the price at all. It was only ever the ticket to pull you into the funnel. And the real total was always waiting there quietly at the bottom, for the moment leaving finally felt like too much effort. You didn't overpay because you were careless, or somehow just bad at booking hotels online. You overpaid because the one number you compared was quietly, carefully built to be a beautiful, tempting little lie. A cheap rate to win the click, hidden fees to win the margin, and fine print to make every bit of it legal. A much bigger price, quietly wearing the friendly, welcoming costume of an unbeatable little bargain. So the next time you proudly book the cheapest room and then pay far more than the sticker ever promised, remember, you didn't lose at a fair game. You were quietly sorted by a number that was never actually true. You booked what merely looked like the cheapest room. The hotel, all along, only ever sold you the cheapest looking one.